Did it say that? Okay, beautiful. All right, so I'm super excited. I'm going to be interviewing quite a few women that have done the spiritual anatomy, soul activation training with me, which has the spiritual anatomy within that. And have a bit of a conversation with them to see how it impacted them, what they experienced, what they thought about it before, what they thought about it after, what they thought about it during. And just generally have a discussion of getting to meet some of the women that have had this experience with me, and for them to share their experience. So I'd like to introduce Anna. Anna's an energy worker, an art therapist, and an artist. So very, very honoured to have Anna to come and talk to me today and talk to us. So hi.
Hi, Claire. Thank you.
Hi.
It's great to be here.
Right. Yeah, it's good. So my first, I'd like to ask you a few questions, but I really want this to be organic. It doesn't have to be rigid or stiff. I don't know how to do that anyway. I'm like, just let it flow. It'll be what it needs to be. So I'd really love to hear, if you can recall, because it was, how long ago did you do the training with me? Was it
it's about a year.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's been a little while, so we'll see what you can remember, and that's okay. My first question to you is, when you first saw the training or felt, I might ask you that. How did you find out about the training?
So I had a friend, I was sort of just following you online. So a friend of mine, Amanda, had sent me, she said, I think you're going to really enjoy sort of following this woman. So I was following it. And when I saw you, I think I really connected when you started talking, just doing a few lives and things like that about soul activation. I didn't really know exactly what it was, but I just felt this real pull, like I need to do that. So that's what got me into it. Yeah,
I can feel that. Could you share a little bit about what was going on? It doesn't have to be a big, long-winded, but just a succinct kind of take on what was going on in your life, or what you were yearning for, or what was playing out for you at that time that you were like, oh, I'd like to work through this, or is there anything going on?
That's actually a good question. So at the time I was pretty burnt out. I'd had like a lot of my husband had been unwell, burnt out from him being unwell, and then taking on, creating a new business, but also overgiving. And probably taking on far too much in my work life, and feeling really out of balance, and just not feeling, I felt quite depleted in some places. So I think I was just like, right, I just need to get back to what it is, like what is authentically me, because this is out of kilter.
Yeah, that'll make sense. Yeah. Okay. I can feel that. So you signed up, and I've had this said to me a few times in my one-on-one work and with my trainings, that as soon as you sign up, I'm not saying this to scare people, but it's just what tends to happen. Anyone that does energy work really understands this, is once you sign up, the energy starts to, in my previous experience and feedback from others, the energy starts to work through, and there's things that come to light, or there's understandings, or there's a process going on in that way. Did that happen for you at all? Did you notice?
Yeah, actually, I forgot, but I remember we were scheduled, I think we had to reschedule about 2 or 3 times for our start date.
Oh yeah, we did.
And I remember the energy was huge, because this is all COVID happening. It was massive in terms of like what was going on. So last year was 22, so this is 2021. And I think it was either 1 or 2 reschedules, or 3. I can't quite remember, but I remember thinking at both times, oh, thank God for that, because I just can't fit that into my life right now. Oh, thank God for that, and even the 3rd time when we did it, or the time that was finite and we were doing it, I would not have been ready for, because already I felt the energy was huge and shifting things and moving things at that stage. And I was in a better place to start the course at the beginning of last year. Yeah. Even then, as soon as we started the course, I just felt, I just had this like, oh yeah, it fits into my schedule, slot. But then I was too busy, and, I ended up getting like really frustrated at the beginning, because I could feel the energy just coming through. And I wasn't making enough space for myself
Right.
You had
Right.
that you had gently said and told us and been very open, but it's like part of me was like, no, I just need an hour and a half. But really what I realized is I needed more than an hour and a half
Right.
after our sessions. And I needed that space and time just to be with myself and just to be with the energy. And yeah, so it came in really quick.
Yeah. Just to be clear, I'm not sitting there with a cauldron and doing it. I'm not sitting there doing energy work before. It's just once you say yes to something, that's the way energy, I know you know this, Anna, the energy will start doing what it's meant to do, you know, timing and alignment and energy discernment and all of those things come into play. And then the activations start to happen because we've said yes. And that's what it is. It's that thing of saying yes. And I mean, this training, I'll speak specifically about this training. I won't go down into all the information about energy as such. That's a whole other story. But you know, this training is an activator, is a clearer, is a shifter, is a it will call you where you've been hiding, and it will really ask you to rise because you've wanted it. It's not there to force you or to push you. I'm saying this as the teacher, but I'd love your impression of that. It will really start to get clearer on why you've avoided what you've avoided, what is possible for you, what you've thought is happening, and the reality of what's actually happening, and how different those two things often are. And there's this death or this integration of your ego that I see with many women that have done this training, where there's this thing of, oh, I thought I was this, or I thought it was this, and that none of that is the case. And then it's this, and it takes great bravery to really realize that and feel that from my experience in my own individual experience, and then witnessing you and many other women do that.
Yeah, I would agree with that. It felt like, you know, there were the pitfalls for me were, you know, I was overworking myself, but I didn't know how to change that. I didn't know how to break out of that mindset and that mentality, because I felt like, you know, I had to achieve, and I had to build my business, and I had to do all these things. Even though I'm a trained therapist, I still had you know, some beliefs, systems playing out that I wasn't even aware of. And so coming into this and feeling, and you know, even part of that was feeling my body, like just actually, you know, a big part was feeling my body. I can work with other people and work with them feeling their bodies, but there are places that I don't take myself. Because you know, we've all got our defenses, and I need other people to work on that and to help me with that. And so this course really, like when the energy came in, it showed me, and it wasn't subtle in some ways, you know, it showed me just how overworked I was, and how little space I was giving myself as a mum, as a person in a career, and a career that's giving to others. And if I knew from that course, if I didn't start changing those beliefs and patterns, then I would end up very physically unwell, because it already started, you know, the depletion of self and things. So but that was really very confronting, because I had to come against the resistance of like of that patterning, and then wanting something else. And so there was a tug of war going on, which created friction, and you know, it played out in my physical life internally, and that's all that energy I see now that was just bubbling everything up. And so there was a part of feeling very uncomfortable sometimes, very activated and triggered, but they were really necessary, and I felt held and safe enough to explore those. Whereas in the past, you know, I would have shut them down or maybe disengaged from the group or something like that. And so they were really powerful transition moments to kind of sit with and work through. But yeah, it was just funny how the energy just was such a visceral feeling, like I just really felt it coming through. Yeah.
And I mean, that's also down to the preparedness, if that's even a word, for that person to meet it, you know, and to heed the call, and to actually say, all right, I'm meeting you. I'm going to let you go through me. I'm going to let that work start to happen. And this isn't a foreign energy. I want to be really clear on that. It's actually the energy of self that you're connecting to. And it's really starting to understand, which is one of my favorite parts of this work, is people really starting to understand and feel and work with and honor their own resonance and their own frequencies, and starting to let that do what it does so effortlessly in aiding us and supporting us and soothe us. You know, we're so, this is a generalized statement, we're so self-defeating at times and self-denying at times, a lot of the time. And so when our energy calls up to say, here, I'll help you with that, where we can be so in our head. I often see it with a lot of women that come to training, and many people, myself included, where I just see these little bobbleheads walking around because we're so in our heads, and we've been really conditioned to be in our heads too. And so to start to come out of our heads and come back into our body and come back into our hearts, what's been sitting there will naturally start to rise up. I don't say that to scare people, but I do say that to inform people, because that's a natural path of the course, and it's really helps you start to get a clearer idea of what's actually been going on and how to move forward from there, not through the head, but through the heart and through the divine intelligence that we all have. So, yeah.
I remember, it just reminds me of when we were working. I do remember the course, and, you know, times I was sitting there and I had questions and my brain was just like, how do I understand?
Yes, I remember.
In terms of therapy and, you know, like, but it was my brain just like my intellect or my boggle head just wanted to control and understand and know without needing to feel. And that was the biggest gift in the whole thing, is learning I could be safe to feel and come back into my body and feel. And what it's done is actually it's added another layer, another depth of layer, that when people come and see me, I can feel, and I always did this to a level, but it actually really cleared this in terms of I have real understanding of I can actually sense these people in my body, not in my body, but
I get that.
I can mirror what they're feeling in their body, or I'm showing what they're feeling when they're sitting in front of me. So it's enhanced sort of being able to feel safe to come in and connect with my body, because I think a lot of my life was just living up here. And because I'm a sensitive person and I didn't want to, you know, throughout my life, when trauma and things like that have happened, like the last thing you want to do is feel overwhelmed and feel those feelings. So shutting it down was a skill, but you just can't live like that. And so that was a really powerful part of the course, is to come back and feel and learn about that on another layer.
And I thank you for that point, because it's so valid, because the thing is, we will all feel, but to a point. We've got this kind of marker of, I feel to here, but as soon as I get to this part, oh, I'm out of control, and then I'll quickly try and, I'm generalizing again, not everyone's like that, but a lot of us are. And we haven't had the experience of our caregivers, our parents, our grandparents, or those around us actually knowing how to do it for themselves either. So it's kind of, we're floundering and trying to navigate it ourselves as well. And so that ability to trust our own feeling state and actually work from the inside out rather than from the outside in is really where a lot of my work lies, in starting to sit comfortably in ourselves, even if we're uncomfortable, being comfortable with the discomfort, you know, and then letting the information percolate in that way, rather than feeling like we have to go here and there and do this and that to make it happen. We trust innately in ourselves and our own knowing, our own seeing, our own feeling. I can feel it in your whole body right now. It's beautiful. I love it. So I'd like to ask you a bit about the group, the space, the container. People have such a funny response to the word container. I love the word container. So if you don't like it, sorry, not sorry. But yeah, how you found the actual setting of having a group of women sharing that experience with you. And we have the Facebook group, and then you have your trios that you go into, and then you do one-on-one work with me as well. Yeah, how you found that though in the Facebook container.
I would even go as far to say that I've never done something like that online before.
That's a good
I found being online really good. I felt like I was just as held online as if I was in person. So in terms of that, I think that's good to know if people are thinking of working with you. There is a deep connection regardless of whether it's online or in person. So there's no differentiation there for me. I think also being online, you have the comfort of being in your own space. So if you are, and so for me, what I didn't realize is I have a lot of wounds around, or had a lot of wounds around connecting with women and trusting other women. And so that was a really big thing for me to kind of connect in that way. And so I think by being in my own home, in my own space, and having that group on you know, online actually helped with that. The container I felt was really solid in terms of like very held, and you know, when we'd go into visualization of a container, I always felt really relieved that we were doing that. And you know, we'd kind of build the container and then we'd you know, let go or close the container off and that sort of thing. And so that was a really good practice of feeling held and safe. And yeah, I really enjoyed that. And so working with the women, and you know, we've got different personalities, you know, and it was interesting to see myself play out, and how other people played out as well. Like, you know, there was vulnerability, there were defenses, there was wanting to connect, and there was all sorts that you would find in a group of women. And you know, I didn't feel unsafe at any point. I always felt very comfortable in terms of, you know, the group feeling, you know, a good structure and held. Definitely was I challenged for sure, definitely triggered for sure. But these are like woman wound triggers, and, you know, that would be anywhere. And again, it was great knowing that I could reach out to you with those triggers if I couldn't work through them myself. I think that was really important to know that I was safe enough, and nothing I said was stupid or silly or, you know, like I was never invalidated for doing that. And so I came to really enjoy working in that group, and I still like group work for that reason, because it shows me other aspects of myself that I wouldn't necessarily work through.
That's right.
In defenses, we still, even though you can know everything, or know what you know, there's still things, little loopholes that you're kind of not aware of about yourself. So it's really valuable work. Love the group trios and working with that, and sort of holding space for each other, and the nurturing environment that can come from that. And just also seeing other people or other women growing through their wounds, or what they are working through at that point. And it's a bit like when you go to you know, when you're a first mum and you've got a baby and you all come together and all the babies are different, but you learn, oh, it's okay, there's no rules on this. And there's part of us doing all of that in this group setting. And you've got the wonderful job of like holding that space, which you do so amazingly.
It's my favorite. I love it.
There was, you know, there was serious, there was tears, there was giggles, there was but there was just this real drive from the heart space to come in and really be authentic and vulnerable, and tap in and allow yourself to kind of feel all of that work.
I mean, I always love it, the comparisonitis. Sorry, what were you saying?
I hope that answered the question. I went off on
no, you totally, no, it's all valid. No, it's no, it's on the money. It was amazing. I love comparisonitis, which might sound a cruel thing to say, but you know, we're wired to compare. It's a physiological thing. It's not just kind of an ego thing. It's a literal in our neural pathways in our brain. And so to kind of deny that that's the case is not really going to serve us well. And so being in a group setting, especially with women, you know, you look at society right now, we're really conditioned to compare ourselves to each other, and then it just activates what we've already got within our physiology as well. And so being in a space where that awareness and that open discussion around that, you will feel comparisonitis, that's my word for feeling compared to, or feeling inadequate compared to them, or feeling vulnerable compared to them, or whatever, however you would term it, is really valuable growth and really valuable learning, and really powerful shifts for that sister wound, or that women wound, or that witch wound, or the mother wound, and all of those kind of things. And most women have all of the above. We might have one that's more dominant, but we generally have all of the above. And I've definitely had them through my life, still processing them. So it's interesting.
We definitely had all of those wounds come up, and in the sessions and things. And if you can come in with the attitude, well, this is all learning, like this is just all an opportunity to learn and grow through this, rather than, and again, that's that kind of coming back to learning. You can actually sit in that discomfort, and it's visiting you. It's not actually who you are. And
beautiful.
Through that. You know, I'm experiencing jealousy, or I'm experiencing inferiority or comparisonitis. I'm not I'm not just that though. And I think a lot of when I think back into my childhood and things, how women, you know, I had a lot of aunties and things like that, you know, there is underlying competition, and there is, you know, things that play out, and talking behind each other's backs and judging, and you know, we have got that conditioning within us, unfortunately.
Very much so. Very much so. Yeah, we do. And I, you know, I have had that process through my life of gossiping, but it's not really in my lane because I think a little bit differently, which is neither here nor there, but it just is. But, you know, when those natural inclinations or those conditioned inclinations come up within a space like this particular space, there's no room for it to go.
Yeah.
So it's met with silence, or it's met with thing. And so there's this thing of reflecting back to the self and doing that inner work in that way of what part of you is hurt, what part of you is wounded, what part of you doesn't feel seen, what part of you feels whatever, or angry or whatever. And, you know, I'm a big advocate for diving into our anger and really feeling into our anger. Anger has so much to gift us, and women have been shunned and shamed for eons for our anger. We've been put in you're out of control, you're a bitch, you're all these kind of things, but it's actually a rite of passage for us to have anger and work with and process our anger.
That's so damaging. Like, you know, if you're angry, you look like a crazy bitch. And I do remember that was there was a session we had, and you were sort of really helping us explore our anger, and there was this like, I do have a right to be angry. I can express it. You know, it's very healthy to express our anger in safe ways. You know, we're not hurting ourselves or other people. And I loved how we looked at that. And I think we looked at Kelly Ma as well. And
Kelly Ma.
I've drawn on Kelly Ma once. I really had to build up some courage. And bring in that energy, and you know, that was pivotal last year in helping me, and also learning that anger is not such a scary thing, because the thing is, a lot of women have depression because that is suppressed anger, you know? And we need to let that go. So that was really cool. What else was really cool? The other thing I really enjoyed too was everyone had their different personalities, and some obviously like to take up more space than others, and I don't know what I was in the continuum of that. Probably I think I needed to, and then I tried to hide, and it's like,
you did the dance. As you do. We all do.
But I love the message that you are allowed to take up space. You know, what you have to say is valid. You know, and the ironic thing about that is, if you do take up lots of space, be prepared to be challenged with that space, or you know, with what you're saying, isn't it? And the other thing that always that I reflect on if I'm sitting with something is, what's the story being played out here? You know, I'm saying, you know, who's telling the story? What part of you is telling the story? What are they saying? And you know, why would that be? Where's that come from? And I often use that as one of my tools to kind of unpack what I might be feeling if I don't understand it. So,
that's a really powerful one, because it's that catching of the autopilot that we just walk in and do these it's like, I'm getting the image of walking into the kitchen and you're just standing there at the fridge and just staring into no man's land. We have many versions of that throughout our life that we just do on autopilot, that we don't even realize why we're doing it. Sorry, my dogs are there's someone dropping something off. They're like, how dare you come to my house? So that's a really valid point. So as far as finding the balance in your life and having those discoveries play out throughout our time together. Sorry if that's really annoying. Is that really annoying?
I don't hear much.
Oh, great. Okay, perfect. She's just she barks. She's a big dog, but she barks like an old woman. It sounds like an old woman barking. I get images of an old woman. It's a Clare thing. I'm sure it's a Clare thing. So as far as your energy and your process within the training, and then how it evolved outside of the training, and because it's been it has been probably over a year, really, if looking at I'm trying to work out, it would have been the end of 2021, I'm thinking. Does that sound right? At the beginning of 2021?
So it was end of 2022, and it's literally almost 12 months since. Okay,
great. So as far as coming outside of that training and then integrating back into your life. And I witness women, it's like, baby, I always get these images because I really have mother archetypes pretty strong in me. If you haven't noticed that before, I feel like anyone that's worked with me has kind of known that about me, that it's definitely there. And I've got a soft mama, but I've also got a tough mama. And it feels a bit like the the bird, the mother bird going, out you go, you can go, off you go now. And they're like, I don't want to, but you're so ready to go. So how was your process once you left the training and your integration and your process after that? How was that for you?
Yeah, I felt that I don't want to go yet. Like, right. I was like, shit, I'm not ready. Like, I don't feel like I gave it enough time and space. And but then I just said, well, what it was perfect. And because it stirred up so much within me, it really did stir me up, and it made me sort of face like, actually, this is not working, but I don't know how to fix it yet. Yeah. But I reckon it has taken about a year to fully integrate what we originally, did in that 6 weeks, because I learned that I needed to make space and time for myself. And that's not an easy thing when you're working against all of that. And I learned that I feel the energy, and I feel things first before I understand it. And so rather than just being thought dominant, that's all shifted. Yeah, which is really cool and empowering. And it's coming back into accepting a lot of the vulnerabilities of myself that I rejected, which can take a long time to integrate that and start working with that. It's helped me as a mum not to, like if my children are in a vulnerable place, it's helped me as a mum to not try and fix it, actually let them be empowered through their big emotions. It's helped me integrate with clients and things like that, the same sorts of ideas, and it's just been able to help me take that into place. But I actually stopped working 5 days, and I'm only working 2 days with some people. And it also, the biggest thing was it brought my art, my creativity back online. And that was because I shut that down for a very long time, because I just didn't think that being an artist was going to be a good career choice for finance.
Your head was saying, I don't want to do this, and your heart was like, I want to do this.
Yeah. So there's a lot more, and sitting in with the inner child and going, okay, well, what does she need? Because there are a lot of wounds, that a lot of wounding there that needed to just be validated and nurtured. Because I won't say repair, because we don't really need to fix. We just need to nurture and acknowledge and grow. And so there's been aspects of me that have grown a lot. I'm taking more courageous steps, I think, because of it. Integrating all of that. But when I go back to that 6 weeks, I was frustrated that I hadn't made more time with myself. And that frustrated, conflicted energy is what kind of spat out all of the rest. Interesting to finish a group feeling frustrated rather than resolved. But that was the energy that was needed to create a momentum that changed.
That makes sense to me. Well, it's frustration, anger, it goes along those lines in that way. And it's that energy that kind of, I don't want to stay like this anymore. I don't want to do it like this anymore. And it really reveals a part of you that has this tantrum of, I feel you're not listening to me, you're not present to me, you're not loving me, you're not doing what I want to do. And so frustration is like the siren, like, wake up, wake up, wake up. We're not going to do it like this. We've got one life. Let's do this. And it does take a lot of bravery to do that. It does take a lot of, oh my God, what have I got to change? And we often go, and I've got to change everything in the one moment in time. And it's like, no, just little by little by little. They're really valid points. As far as tools that you received or you started working with through the training and then bringing them into your life, do you feel like you've still been able to use them, or have some fallen away? Or how has that part of your experience been?
So I miss our, like going in and doing meditations and things, because I really enjoyed, like, it's almost like I kind of just, I don't know, I'm like a trailer that tacks onto
Oh yeah, no, I get that. Yeah, I get that. She's like, oh yeah.
Because I love tapping into that energy so quick. You know,
Yes.
when I do
Yeah.
meditation by myself, sometimes it takes me a long time to kind of find
Right.
it. And
Right.
so, but I know it's there after doing, you know, what we've done. So and then some days it'll be really quick and easy.
Right.
But I just loved how that energy was just so present and so there. And it was like, oh, it is there, you know, it is there all the time.
Right.
And so when I meditate, but also when I'm out walking and things like that, you know, I really see and understand and see the connection. Walking is almost like another form of meditation to me.
Oh
Where
yeah, for sure.
so nature's always giving me, and I'm far more open to seeing those signs or that connection and things like that. And in terms of like when I do go into a meditation, like there's so much more information that I'm open to receiving now. Like I see it now as that I it's not that I wasn't getting it or wasn't connected
That's
to it.
right.
I was too afraid to connect to it and understand it or see it. And there's still things that I get confused about.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, things pop up and but I am far more willing to just be okay with sitting with it and okay not to know it.
Right.
Which I think is a really big skill as well.
It's huge. That's huge. Yeah.
Because sometimes I would go into overwhelm, like, I don't understand it, just shut it down.
Right.
And so for me, I realize I've got a lot more like clear visualizations in my meditations. You know, the spiritual anatomy, when I go in, like that's changing. I'm physically strengthening my body because that's what I was called to do. That's another thing that kind of has resulted since a year ago. And with that, it feels like I'm landing a lot more of the spiritual anatomy and a lot more coming back into my body. So bringing the kind of mind, body, soul, the three of them back together. And yeah, I
can feel that. That all makes sense. So it's I can see it. It's that thing that I talk about all the time. It's energy, physical, emotional, mental, all of those aspects have been touched on throughout that time. And then, you know, you've met it after. And that's the thing of, you know, I could bring everything to the table. It's about what the person is ready to pick up and what they pick up and how they meet it and how they feel about it. But I want to reflect back to you what a privilege wholeheartedly it is to I'll get teary to witness you throughout that time and to see you meet your edge and to know when to pause and when to move, and then watching you outside of the space and actually doing the same thing and having that energy discernment and that real measured way of meeting yourself and tending to yourself and your needs on all levels, you know, on the very 3D level, and all of the emotional and mental and things that can come up there, as well as the energetic, and really having that interwoven together consciously and embodied in the body as well. It's it's been a beautiful thing to witness with you. It's really and I don't say that lightly, it's really been quite emotional for me at times throughout just watching you shine more and more and more. And it's just like watching someone take the ball and just run with it, and loving themselves and meeting themselves in that way. It's just I love it, and I'm very, very grateful for you for being you and for just being such a beautiful beautiful soul in that way. So
thanks, Claire.
That's
really nice. And that's, you know, like I just can't recommend what you do, your groups. I really don't feel like, you know, one's better than the other. I think whatever you offer is great if people are attracted to it. I just want more women to feel like this, you know. We don't have to stay in those old stories anymore. Like, it's really time to move out of them and feel empowered and learn that our emotions are not our, you know, it's not our downside. Or, you know, what we know in our intuition is actually really powerful, and we can really channel it in a good way and powerful way to help. So you do amazing work.
Thank you. Feelings mutual. It's a two-way street. No, but that's on point with the intuition. It's like really where our power lies, and it supports everyone. As a like that, what's that saying? As a woman rises, it helps all of humanity, all of the, you know, all the energies, all that will ever be. It's just a gift that keeps on giving. So I can feel that. Yeah, so thank you so much for sharing that. I'm sure that people, even if they don't do the training with me, they'll really resonate with you and all that you've shared, and it will activate them and give them a gift. So that's always a win-win for me as well. So yeah, thank you.
It's a big ripple effect. It's
Yeah,
awesome.
100%.
Oh, thanks for asking me to come on and have a
That's
chat.
all right. Yeah. Great. All right, thank you. All right, we'll say see you later, and yeah, thank you.